tail and an anchor. Plankton owns the Chum Bucket restaurant that is always empty. Chum in real life is bait made out of dead fish to attract sharks. Since
what the fuck? What the no shit? Nobody wanted to eat that shit. What the fuck? What the fuck? I never once looked up what the hell chum is. This nigga was trying to get niggas to be cannibals, basically. He was trying to feed a bunch of fishes dead fish bait, and he really thought niggas were gonna eat that over a fucking cheeseburger?
Shooters, niggas don't really be shooters. Shit go left, I know how to. Shit go left, I know how to maneuver. I can get bread on the block of computers. I ain't bulletproof, but I'm up first.
We here.
Jersey, 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 nigga, New Jersey.
Here with another video, man. I ain't gonna lie to you. For anyone that's gonna ask about the hat, bro, I haven't wore this shit like this in like a year. And I was like, why? Hey, fuck it. Might be rocking this shit for a little bit. Who knows, bro? Who knows? I ain't gonna lie, fuck with this shit. Until I get this retwist, fuck with this shit. Anyways, how Nickelodeon betrayed SpongeBob's creator. A video by Patrick C.C. Y'all already know. Let's get into this shit, man.
modern SpongeBob sucks. The stories lack meaning. Every character has been flattened into a single exaggerated personality trait. The animation itself looks way too polished, and the endless amount of spin-offs are just plain disrespectful. Nickelodeon has squeezed every last doubloon.
I'm not gonna lie to you, I 100% know exactly what he mean. And this honestly and truly is the reason why I was like, I don't fucking like television. Like, I feel bad for the kids nowadays, man. That's why all these little niggas is just doing shit like it's just way more niggas just trying to go into the streets and doing some stupid shit. Cause it's like, yo, TV's ass. TV was amazing when I was younger. I came back one time to go watch new SpongeBob because I thought they stopped making episodes after I heard that one of the guys that was voicing it, or the creator, had passed away. It was somebody that was involved, like really, like he really made a big impact to the show, and he just passed away. I couldn't remember the specific thing. I might just look it up. I just looked it up. It said that he passed away on 2018. So that was the right news I was trying to remember and everything. So once they said he passed away, that was the same year I graduated from high school. Like, that was my last year of high school, I think, I believe. Or nah, I already graduated from high school because he passed away in November of 2018. I was already out of high school, already out. And I was like, bro, damn, SpongeBob about to be ass. That's crazy. That the minute I leave high school, I become an adult. Now I go one of my favorite kids shows just like not, you know what I mean? It's about to just be terrible. It's the same way I heard when Wes Craven had passed away. You know, the creator of one of my favorite horror movie series, Scream. When they had the show going on and he passed away, I was like, man, this shit about to be ass. And it was alright, but I was like, bro, y'all could just leave it right here, bro. Don't make no more, bro. Just let it rock, bro. Let it rock. They still did it. Obviously, it's a big franchise. That's how business works. Yeah, it's crazy. But when I went back to SpongeBob, all the episodes, I didn't crack a smile not once. Like, I sat down for an hour recently, not even a fucking smirk. Not even a snicker. I don't even, like, this shit wasn't even the slightest bit funny. And it's exactly the way you just said. It's just a bunch of exaggerated versions of the classic characters. And it's just like, why? Just end the show.
And out of that sponge. And no, it's not just because we grew up. The decline of SpongeBob SquarePants can be traced back to one specific moment in 2005, because the creator of the show, Steven Hillenburg, never wanted the show to continue after season 3. But once Hillenburg stepped away, and especially after his death, the network transformed SpongeBob into a content machine that totally ignores the vision and the soul of its original creator.
Am I really gonna defile this grave for money? Of course I am!
The story of SpongeBob isn't about the animation, it's about the animator, because like most creations, the humans behind them are often what make them so special. The greatest Nickelodeon show of all time wasn't created by some animation expert or a corporate product design team. He was a marine biologist who liked to create weird little sea creatures in his free time. Steven Hillenburg wasn't a big dreamer. He didn't have Hollywood aspirations. He was very grounded and rooted in reality, which is why he never thought that being an artist was a real career path. Lucky for him,
The fuck? What the fuck is a marine biologist?
he was also
Hold on. Let me look this up real quick. Hey, look, man, I'm educating myself on these videos now, man. Like, I know in my videos a lot, I say I'm about to go check out some shit. 9 times out of 10, 10 times out of 9, after the video, I don't go check it out. I say I'm gonna check it out when I edit the vid. I don't, and you guys know, I rarely add this shit into the videos. So let's do that. Let's actually do that, though. Marine biologists study ocean organisms, aquatic ecosystems, and human impacts on marine life. They conduct field work, analyze data in labs, and work on conservation efforts. Competition for roles is fierce, with entry-level positions requiring a bachelor's degree and advanced research roles requiring a master's or PhD. So wait, does this mean that he was just claiming to be one? Or if he was actually one, I mean, this nigga went and got a bachelor's degree just to make a show like fucking SpongeBob? That's no disrespect to SpongeBob. It's an amazing show. I fucking love that shit. But to get your bachelor's degree, to just all around end up being a cartoon animator, like, that's the shit I be talking about, bro. Niggas don't be knowing what they want to go to college for real. They just be in that bitch, bro. And then along the way, they realize, like, you know, I really want to do something else with my life, bro. But I'm already here. I might as well finish it. Like, already. Niggas be going to college to be lawyers. They come out and they're fucking managers at McDonald's. Hey. Okay. Well, I mean, hey, at least you're a manager, I guess, right? At least. I mean, I don't know. I guess, bro.
so extremely interested in marine science. His practical life plan was that he could get a job in his field and maybe get to express his inner artist here and there.
I was minoring in art, and I had teachers in the art department saying, "What are you doing? Why aren't you in the art school?" I guess I thought, well, I do this. I like marine biology and science, and I'm an artist, so I'll end up making exhibits or working at a museum or something. I just immediately put the two together.
Yeah. What were you painting? Were you painting sort of realistic, classical realism of fish?
These weird surreal landscapes.
Okay.
Yeah, with humans.
After college, Steve got a job at the Ocean Institute in California. He enjoyed teaching children about marine life around Dana Point, where he spent a lot of his time studying invertebrates in coastal tide pools, which consisted of aquatic animals without backbones like starfish, crabs, octopi, and the sea sponge. One day, Steve's boss asked him if he could use his artistic skills to make a comic book project for incoming children. Steve didn't realize it then, but he just casually made the blueprint for one of the most successful cartoons of all time. After that, for years, he contemplated pursuing a career in art because all of his free time went to creating sculptures, drawings, and even films. But he still loved marine science and the consistent, reliable paycheck that came with his job. But then in the early 90s, his work got recognized by Nickelodeon showrunner Joe Murray, who gave Steven a job as an animation director for Rocko's Modern Life at the network. While working at Nick, one of his co-animators read the Intertidal Zone comic he made 5 years earlier and convinced Steve to try to build his own show from it.
And then Martin was looking at the intertidal comic that I had, and he said, "What are you, crazy? This is your show right here."
Steve developed early concepts starting with the main character, Spongeboy. Steve loved how resilient sea sponges are. They've done studies where people put them in a blender only for the sea sponge to return to its natural form and stay alive. He could use Spongeboy as a flexible character.
Yo, hey, don't call me stupid, right? Right? Don't call me stupid, right? Right? But it took me a while. As a kid, I wasn't the most, like, I ain't gonna say stupid. I just didn't I didn't pay attention in school to anything that I felt like it didn't make sense. So it took me a while to even realize that SpongeBob was genuinely, like, almost all the characters were based off of actual fishes. And then when I thought that SpongeBob was just, you know, just a regular kitchen sponge, and then they told me that there's actually, like, something called a sea sponge. I'm like, wait, there's an actual, Like, I mean, obviously he's not walking around with eyes and shit, I would assume, but I guess that makes sense. He looks like a sponge, like a kitchen sponge, but he's supposed to be as durable, because in the cartoon, the nigga literally could like be ripped apart, put back together. This nigga then been shredded into pieces, and he always returns back to the same. That might even be why the intro is like that. Like, it's just him fucking contorting his body and shit and just going back to just one regular size. So I guess that's to represent, yo, that's actually interesting. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's actually really interesting.
That could morph into crazy shapes, but he felt that it would be funnier if he resembled a kitchen sponge rather than an actual sea sponge, hence the square shape. Now, Steve wanted this character to be...
No, Patrick Seastar had got me. Patrick Seastar had got me, I'm not gonna lie. I actually completely forgot about starfishes, but when I figured it out, I'm like, okay, that's what made me like start realizing. I have moments of realization that'll make you think like, yo, bro, does this nigga even like, does he even be here on Earth, bro? But I just be, look, gang, I overlook shit. I just be trying to enjoy, like, I just be trying to enjoy shit, bro. I overlook shit sometimes.
An adult, but to have a childlike innocence, no hate in his heart, and oftentimes no adult logic to prevent him from getting into silly situations.
I would say the show is really about life.
After they learned SpongeBoy was already copyrighted, he chose the name SpongeBob SquarePants.
Seriously?
And what's incredible is how much every single detail in the show was intentionally inspired by his marine science background.
What is he living in a pineapple? Why is he living in a pineapple? And then, first of all, my logic was, you know, it's Hawaiiana. The pineapple in some cultures represents friendship. Like in England, I think you'll see a door knocker.
It's all over because that meant welcome.
Yeah, it makes sense that he would live in the pineapple, right? Because he's friendly.
Every aspect of the show was loosely logical and funny at the same time. SpongeBob's closest friend is a starfish named Patrick Star, who is the dumbest character of the show because actual starfish don't have brains. The owner of the Krusty Krab and SpongeBob's boss, Mr. Krab.
But wait, but would that mean in theory, right? Like, would that mean technically that sea sponges have brains? Because what they just showed me, right? Because this is a sea sponge, right? This is a fucking sea sponge, right? This is a sea sponge. Yeah, I see. Like, it's damn near like a regular sponge, obviously, but it's in the sea, right? There's no eyes, there's no mouth. There's no legs, ears, nose, nothing. So I wouldn't assume that they have a brain. A simple one to aquatic animals that filter feed by drawing water through port, circulating it through. You mean to tell me, right? You mean to tell me that this shit right here, bro. This shit right here. Nah, bro. This says bath sea sponge, bro. I need to see the sea sponge animal. Boy, ain't no fucking way. Boy, ain't no fucking way, boy. This shit don't look like it got no fucking brain. Come on, bro. Starfish. They are not actual fish. Wow. That's fucked up how they do, bro. That's fucked up how they did, little bro. I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. That's fucked up, man. This looked like it'd be more believable to be a regular, like an actual fucking sea animal than a goddamn sea sponge. That shit look like it's supposed to be washing somebody's ass, bro. Let alone that shit has a lifespan and apparently a brain. But I mean, well, then again, though, SpongeBob and Patrick are equally stupid as shit. Like, they're damn near equally stupid as shit. I think the only thing that makes SpongeBob a teeny bit smarter than him is the fact that he's able to get a job and maneuver through other tasks in life. But when it gets down to the nitty gritty, they do both kind of act equally as brainless. So I guess that makes sense. I guess in all, like, you know what I'm saying, the grand scheme of things, it does kind of make sense. So, yeah, okay. All right.
Was based on the manager of a Maine seafood restaurant where Steve worked as a teenager. Mr. Krabs' entire identity surrounds his obsession with money and exploiting his workers and customers for profit. He's what people would call a bottom feeder, and crabs in real life feed on things at the bottom of the ocean. Sandy Cheeks is a squirrel from Texas who wears an astronaut suit that keeps her alive underwater. It was Steve's attempt at making...
Hey, that's crazy, because in the cartoon, a bottom feeder is an insult. It's like being called a bitch or like a bum or like the lowest of the low. So that's kind of crazy that like Mr. Krabs, actual real life, like, you know what I'm saying, they feed off the bottom, and that's an insult. So like niggas might as well be walking around saying, yo, bro, you're a crab. You know what I'm saying? But that's insane. That's insane. Mind the politics.
Being a strong female character that embodied the adventurer spirit during the space missions to the moon overseen from Houston. Squidward Tentacles is actually Steve Hillenburg's way of joking about the other half of his real-life personality. He's a pretentious, aspiring artist, a mediocre band geek, and his name doesn't match his octopus body, representing the internal confusion with his own artistic identity.
Squidward's his name, but he's an octopus. I like the round head. But
yeah, that's funny as fuck.
It's funnier than Octoboy. Squidward is this Kermit.
I thought he was a squid. So, you know what I mean? I'm not a marine biologist. I didn't pay that much attention to it. All that mattered, I didn't give a fuck if Squidward was a squid, an octopus, a dog, a cat. It didn't really fucking matter, bro. He was just hilarious. And the bottom line was he was supposed to just be a dickhead. So, no matter what animal he was, bro, he's a dickhead. So like I mean,
Curmudgeon, snotty, aloof, a wannabe artist. In a way, Squidward is the guy I can identify with most.
See, Squid belongs to some of those music societies, right? The clarinet, undersea clarinet society. Yeah, he's into interpretive dance and any kind of snobbery incorporated he would be into. Subscribes to Fancy Living Digest. Anything that SpongeBob's not into, Squidward's probably into.
Steve got to be as creative and absurd as possible while creating his own show, and yet everything is there for a reason. While SpongeBob lives in a friendly pineapple, Squidward lives in an Easter Island head that plays on his big-headed ambitions. Patrick is an idiot.
Oh shit! Oh shit!
Oh!
That's tough. I ain't gonna lie to you. So the nigga Crip, I was about to ask earlier if this nigga SpongeBob's house was supposed to represent friendship, right? I was about to say, what did Squidward's house have to represent? Was it like supposed to be like the different little houses that's inside of fish bowls or some shit? But he said it's supposed to represent his big-headed ambition. That makes sense. So that would mean that Patrick's house, if I'm correct, is a rock because there's a phrase called, bro, you're as dumb as a rock. A rock has obviously no fucking brain. It has no type of, you know what I mean? It's just a fucking inanimate object. So that, that's what he's about to say. Hold on, I'm cooking. He's about to say that shit.
Who literally lives under a rock. Mr. Krabs runs a restaurant shaped like a giant lobster trap, along with living at home with his whale daughter, Pearl, in an anchor. Plankton owns the Chum Bucket restaurant that is always empty. Chum in real life is bait made out of dead fish to attract sharks. Since
What the fuck?
What the no shit? Nobody wanted to eat that shit. What the fuck?
What the fuck?
I never once looked up what the hell chum is. This nigga was trying to get niggas to be cannibals, basically. He was trying to feed a bunch of fishes dead fish bait. And he really thought niggas were gonna eat that over a fucking cheeseburger?
Plankton's potential customers are all fish, they probably don't want to partake in cannibalism. Sandy lives in a dome under the sea, inverting the phrase fish out of water to a mammal out of the air. And the town they live in is called Bikini Bottom. Most of us think about a bathing suit, however, it is also a dark humor reference to the Bikini Atoll nuclear site, which is located in the real-world country of the Marshall Islands.
I knew about this.
67 nuclear weapons tests were carried out from
This is the only piece of SpongeBob lore that I actually knew. Like, and I learned this, I think, in school or off of some random documentary when I was leaving school. And it was probably the darkest explanation for this. I didn't get this deeper explanation of the show, like from like, you know, how the characters got me. This is how I was told. I was told that it was some nuclear like explosion at this beach and it created a bunch of radioactive like deformed animals or fishes or some shit like that, and that SpongeBob, the whole SpongeBob SquarePants show was based off of all these, like, you know what I'm saying, created creatures. That shit gave it a dark ass tone to me because I'm like, damn, if Squidward's walking around somewhere in real life, but that's scary. I might shoot that nigga.
What the fuck?
If Mr. Krabs somewhere walking around, nigga, I might shoot that nigga.
What the fuck?
You get what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to run into them niggas. Like, they're funny in the animated version, but when they do them little close-ups, them little 3D close-ups in the cartoon, but that shit be looking creepy. So you imagine seeing that shit in 3D in your face? Yeah, I don't want to know that that's some weird.
To 1958, including the explosion of the first H-bomb. I personally love this detail because if there were talking sea creatures in a town in the ocean, it probably would have happened after nuclear radiation mutated all the living organisms. All of this is to say that Steve was arguably more of a pure artist than most traditional animators, and it's the loose logic that turns a good cartoon into a great cartoon. And even though Steve wasn't the most confident guy in the world, he knew he had a great idea, and he fought Nickelodeon hard to keep his idea from being destroyed. At the beginning, people give you notes and you have to fight back. It was a new show and no one knows if a new show will work. Nick had decided it didn't want any more animal shows and wanted stories with kids, like Hey Arnold. They actually wanted to make Arnold Under the Sea and make SpongeBob a child. I said, no, that's not the show. In fact, Hillenburg
Arnold Under the Sea? That's the stupidest idea I've ever heard in my life.
out and refused to work with Nickelodeon until they came to a compromise. SpongeBob would go to school like a child, but it would be a boat driving school for young adults taught by a character named Mrs. Puff. And although the fandom now loves Mrs. Puff, this is the harsh reality of working with a corporation. You have to make concessions for the sake of making your bosses and executives happy, which is something that Hillenburg would grow extremely tired of in the coming years. But creating the animated world is only half the battle. Steve now needed the right voice actors to bring these characters to life. He chose Tom Kenny, who voiced Heifer in Rocko's Modern Life, for SpongeBob's voice. Tom later admitted that SpongeBob's high-pitched voice was inspired by a real-life little person who was angry about being typecast as an elf.
There was one guy at the audition, he was, in a different part of the corridor, and he was hanging with a couple of his buds, and just the most bitter, ticked-off little person in an elf outfit you've ever seen.
So this is the only, if it wasn't for the Christmas shit, I wouldn't f***ing work. This is the only time of the year that I f***ing work. It pisses me off. It's like, I'm glad to have it, knock on wood, but motherfucker, it's...
Now, I ain't gonna lie, that's actually kind of funny to think about, like, okay, SpongeBob's voice is actually inspired from basically a fucking midget. When I can say that, little person. Whatever, bro. Y'all know what I meant anyways, bro. Fuck it, man.
And I was just like, wow. And I told Steve Hillenburg that story. Years go by. And he remembered that story. I'd totally even forgotten the story because it was something that happened to you on a day, and then you tell people that you run into that day, and then you kind of forget about it. And he said, remember that guy? So
that's kind of where SpongeBob came from, sort of like a munchkin, like a...
without the negativity.
Tom was the perfect voice for the role, and Hillenburg somehow managed to assemble a ton of underrated voice actors who gave each character an iconic vocal identity.
Yo, all these motherfuckers look like, what the hell? Wait, okay, all right. I'm not a fan of ageism, right? I'm not. I always go against it. I'm 26, and literally in this day and age, being the age of 26, niggas look at you like you're damn near supposed to already have a wife and like 4 kids and a house to yourself, bro.
What the fuck?
Like, that's what they assume. So I'm not with the ageism shit though. But take a look real quick, bro. These are the voices of our childhood right here, bro. These are what niggas nowadays will call a bunch of old-ass niggas. You get what I'm saying? But these niggas is goats, man. It's a picture of goats. Just 6 goats in one picture.
Who gave each character an iconic vocal identity.
You play Plankton? Kaboom! Larry, the lobster. Hey.
I also play Fred.
My leg!
Oh wait, the nigga that voice Plankton is Fred? What the fuck, bro?
What the fuck?
Nah, that's tough.
Krabby Patty, you've been
Hey, this is so fucking fire.
I'll have 2 Krabby Patties, extra ketchup, extra mustard, and hold the mayo.
Prioritizing the art style over traditional story.
This is actually really interesting to know, bro. I'm not gonna lie to you, bro. Like, it's actually crazy. This is actually probably like the craziest thing to see, other than when I found out that Timmy Turner was voiced by a girl. That blew my mind. I couldn't believe that shit. But then it made sense, because you don't really look into his, like, why his voice is so high pitched, because he's meant to be a kid. But then to find out that it's a girl, I'm like, y'all are slick. Or when we found out that the Cleveland wasn't even voiced by a black guy. He wasn't. I didn't know how to feel about that. Cleveland's still funny. I just didn't know how to feel about it. After I found out he wasn't voiced by a black guy, I kind of felt like all the black jokes were just like really like emphasized stereotypes instead of me just assuming that it was another black guy just relating. So I don't know.
Telling, filling the cast with bizarre characters, and making the tone intentionally chaotic sounded like a disaster for a new kids show. To Nickelodeon executives, SpongeBob probably looked less like the future of children's television and more like an unmarketable experiment. But Steve didn't care. I was definitely interested in making a world that was different to anything on the air and to what had existed before. It was also to do with my interest in the ocean and background as a marine biologist, and I was conscious of creating something that I wanted to be my own. The SpongeBob SquarePants universe was the result of one guy's deeply personal creative vision, which ironically was about to make these corporate suits filthy rich. In 1999, SpongeBob SquarePants debuted on Nickelodeon and was an instant success. The pilot was called Help Wanted, along with 2 other sister episodes or episodes within an episode called Reef Blower and Tea at the Tree Dome. And right away, it was clear that the show wasn't following the traditional rules of another animated series.
You know what's crazy? I watched those episodes a fucking million times, bro. And I never realized that those were like the first couple episodes. Boy, them shits is classics, man. Reef Blower. He's playing with a reef blower. Primetime comedy, man. They don't make shit like that no more, bro. I think Tea at the Tree Dome is the one where it was Patrick and SpongeBob trying to act like they didn't need water. With Sandy, bro. Classics, bro.
Steve chose to introduce Bikini Bottom in a French accent. The reason behind the voice came from a French oceanographer, Jacques Cousteau, who was the first person on TV to inspire Hillenburg to be a marine biologist.
Here we see Bikini Bottom, teeming with life, home of one of my favorite creatures, SpongeBob SquarePants. Yes, of course he lives in a pineapple, you silly.
And even for an animated show, SpongeBob was surprisingly colorful. The entire landscape was painted in light blues and greens with fine sand and rays of light all over to simulate the feeling of being underwater. But once again, if anything was beautiful or deep, it also came with something absurd to balance it out. Like how the Hawaiian t-shirt flowers in the sky and sand looked like how they were drawn by a little kid, or how buildings in the backgrounds always looked like massive pieces of coral made out of metal. SpongeBob had the world's loudest foghorn alarm clock to make sure he was awake at the same time every day. He had a pet sea snail named Gary that was always annoyed and meowed like a cat. He had a closet full of the same exact SquarePants outfits. Instead of lifting weights, he lifted stuffed animals, to show he was extremely ambitious but adorably innocent. He hyped himself up, saying his
I mean, that's a nice way to put it. I mean, I would have said that it was just to show that, like, how incredibly fucking weak he is, but I guess that's a nice way to put it.
signature catchphrase, "I'm ready," and his neighborhood friend Patrick popped out from his rock to support SpongeBob in his quest to live his lifelong dream to be a fry cook at the Krusty Krab. Additionally, most animated shows at the time were drawn on model, meaning they stuck to a fixed style guide to maintain consistency from frame to frame. However, SpongeBob SquarePants was created using off-model animation, meaning that every time you looked at SpongeBob, he was never exactly the same. His tie could be smaller, his face could be longer, his teeth could be bigger, but most importantly, his body and face was essentially elastic, so he could be stretched and transformed to literally wear his emotions, which meant that the writers didn't just have to rely on dialogue to tell their story or prove their point. They could visually tell stories by changing SpongeBob's physical form. And beyond off-model, Hillenburg's SpongeBob wasn't afraid to use really impressive sketching and painting to add drama to the scene. For example, when SpongeBob and Patrick meet Sandy in Tea in the Tree Dome, SpongeBob spends his first time in open air. Patrick makes SpongeBob believe that all he has to do is be fancy, telling him to keep his pinky up no matter what, but soon SpongeBob starts to slowly die in the Tree Dome, and Patrick stupidly tells SpongeBob to ignore water and keep his pinky raised. When they zoom in on his drying face, the details look closer to fine art rather than a cartoon. Of course, none of these techniques on their own were technically new, but SpongeBob SquarePants had put them together in a way that redefined modern modern animation. The highly detailed close-ups made for often uncomfortable and sometimes gross situations. But to take it even further than that, Hillenburg's team also had no trouble using real-life people as plot devices whenever they thought it was ridiculously funny. In a season 2 Christmas special called Christmas Who, we're introduced to Tom Kenny dressed in a pirate's costume named Patchy the Pirate, with a parrot pup.
I'm not gonna lie to you. If anything was made the show kind of awkward, and I mean, I don't know, maybe unpopular opinion. Maybe every other kid enjoyed Patchy. Patchy wasn't all that like entertaining to me. I'm not gonna lie, bro. Like, I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. To me, like, I'm not gonna say he never made me like, you know, entertained or whatever, but for the most part, I think there were a lot of times they threw him in there, and I kind of wanted him to just get back to SpongeBob. Right, like some of the like the crazy specials, like the movies or like whatever, like the longer ones, and he'll be like, I think the one episode that I fuck with was when he was trying to go to the party, or he passed out and was imagining that he was actually meeting SpongeBob, and I was like, yo, this is actually kind of funny. Like this is actually kind of funny. But every other time it just seemed kind of like awkward and strung out. I don't know. Maybe I was getting too old at that point to really. Nah, that's not it. Because I still enjoyed the SpongeBob, so. It's something about it was just throwing me off. If anything though, the parrot, he was funny. The bird was funny. The bird was funny as fuck to me. So I
named Potty. He'd be depicted as SpongeBob's #1 fan and become a major.
Oh shit! The bird's name is Potty because he got a potty mouth. Oh shit! Cause he always popping his shit.
Host in any SpongeBob specials. Or another strange episode where a man dressed up in a gorilla costume pops into frame, tries to kill Sandy and Patrick, rips SpongeBob in half, and gave nightmares to children around the world.
No. This did not give me a nightmare. All right, this did not give me a nightmare. All right, I don't know about other kids, but for a very long time, that was the funniest SpongeBob episode I've ever seen in my life. And if I was ever gonna tell somebody that SpongeBob is a funny show, you need to go watch it, that was always the episode I referred to. Because there was nothing funnier than just sitting there as a kid watching a cartoon, and out of nowhere, niggas just implement a real life person into this, and he's in a gorilla suit. No context, no nothing. He just randomly a nigga in a gorilla suit, and he just starts beating on the cartoon characters. I don't know how any kid couldn't have found that fucking hilarious. Like, it was just so random. It was like so perfectly random.
Best kid show ever. As if it couldn't get any better, the stories and character dynamics were damn near perfect. Initially, it seems like everyone in Bikini Bottom sees SpongeBob as a fool or pitiful man-child. Characters like Squidward, Mr. Krabs, and Plankton see his hopeful perspective as a weakness and try to exploit it for their own personal gain. But to Hillenburg, he said the premise for the show is that innocence prevails, which I don't think it always does in real life. And this is demonstrated constantly with his interactions with Squidward, but the first being jellyfishing, where SpongeBob and Patrick invite Squidward to catch jellyfish in jellyfish fields. Not only does he deny the invite, but he is a sarcastic jerk about it, which results in him getting hunted down by a jellyfish, stung, and then riding his bike off a cliff, which leaves him temporarily paralyzed. SpongeBob, who has no hate in his heart, realizes that Squidward needs help and decides to take care of him. From there, they take him jellyfishing to show him how much fun he is missing out on. Squidward seeks revenge on the jellyfish, only for him to get stung by a massive jellyfish that injures him even more. Basically, every time he has a cynical outlook or bad intentions, he pays for it by getting hurt. It was hilarious and sticks to Steve's message that innocence prevails. SpongeBob was never supposed to be dumb or foolish. He just has so much faith in the world around him that it creates new adventures and challenges. Hillenburg said, SpongeBob is a complete innocent, not an idiot. SpongeBob never fully realizes how stupid Patrick is. They're whipping themselves up into situations. That's always where the humor comes from. Hillenburg also wrote the show so that any character could be a foil character, which is a character who highlights the traits of another character through contrast or comparison. Sandy showed SpongeBob's lack of strength with karate. Mrs. Puff showed that he can study, but lacks the mental maturity and patience to actually drive. Mr. Krabs showed his lack of greed, and Plankton showed his lack of evil. But just when you think these characters are extremely...
Nah, Nah, word. I ain't gonna lie, because when you put SpongeBob in front of any of these guys in any scene, it is a crazy ass obvious contrast between SpongeBob's character and their character. But yo, I ain't gonna lie. This is why I like Patrick's videos, bro. He really breaks down to like especially the ones when he goes into like detail about like shit that I feel like really holds a place in my memory growing up, like whether it be a movie or an actor or just like a series or whatever it be. Cause it's just like I look at it like that, but when you hear it broke it down, you really sit like, oh yo, what the fuck? Like, nah, for real. Whenever SpongeBob, but funny enough, the SpongeBob and Patrick are equally dumb, but when you put them together, it actually makes you realize that SpongeBob is not all that stupid. You get what I mean? Like they said he's not supposed to be an idiot. I know that. But I'm saying like in actuality, when you put him next to a lot of these people, he seems like the dumber guy. You get what I mean? Like whether it be next to Plankton, he just seems nicer. Mr. Krabs, he just seems less greedy. You know what I'm saying? Sandy Wood. He just ultimately, one thing they also all have in common is that he always seems like the dumber, more like less self-aware in a situation with any of these people except for Patrick. Like when you put him in it with Patrick, it actually emphasizes as well how dumb Patrick is. Because when they get into problems, if it's not neither one of them coming up with the with the solution, they're just sitting there malfunctioning until one of these other characters just pop up out of nowhere, like Squidward. You get what I'm saying? Like, I fuck with this shit, bro.
Predictable, Hillenburg always found a way to give them some depth, because in real life, we're not just one emotion or one character trait, like how he portrayed Squidward in the 5th episode of season 1 called Pizza Delivery. Mr. Krabs decides that the Krusty Krab should enter the pizza delivery service. And
Nah, I ain't gonna lie to you, bro. And that's what I can't remember the last time I sat there and binge watched every SpongeBob season. That was the first, and even if I wouldn't have remembered which episode was what, I just kind of just started up and just watched. That was the 5th episode, bro. He had some bangers. 5 episodes in? He might start making me feel like this shit peaked in the first season, but I know it didn't because the SpongeBob movie and all that other shit later on, I know that came way later on. With the 2 Krusty Krabs and everything, that movie was tough. That movie was tough. Goofy Goober, rah! That shit was hard. That shit was hard, on God.
SpongeBob and Squidward have to personally deliver to the first customer, but they get lost and have to do this long, brutal journey on foot. Squidward is grumpy and annoyed like usual, but they eventually make it. Unfortunately, the customer refuses to pay because the delivery took too long and they forgot his drink. SpongeBob cries, feeling like a failure, and instead of siding with the customer, Squidward defends SpongeBob, taking the pizza to the ungrateful customer and smashing it into his face. Suddenly, all of us realize that Squidward was one of the most misunderstood characters. Maybe SpongeBob annoyed him all the time, but he wasn't gonna let some jerk disrespect his coworker. It established this kind of older brother, younger brother dynamic where Squidward low-key cares about SpongeBob, but is constantly annoyed by his antics to show it. But the greatest part about SpongeBob SquarePants was that the team somehow figured out a way to make this show appeal to kids and their parents. Kids enjoyed the silly physical comedy and songs like the Fun Song or Jellyfish Rave, and adults were able to laugh at the low-key inappropriate jokes that would never exist on kids' TV today.
That's it. Patrick, your genius is showing.
Where? I feel like a...
That's the A. That's the one right there.
Where? I feel like a... big jerk.
I guess you're gonna miss the panty raid.
Panty raid? You're talking about girls, right? Girls?
Yeah.
And you're talking about raiding their dressers for their underpants, right?
Oh, yeah. Give us some credit, old man. We're panty professionals.
We score here all the time.
You know what's crazy? Completely went over my head. I was just enjoying the episode. That's crazy to have in a kid's cartoon. I'm not gonna lie to you.
By the end of season 2, it wasn't just a cult classic. SpongeBob's face alone was a marketing goldmine, with images of SpongeBob and the other characters appearing on items ranging from thong underwear to boxes of macaroni and cheese. Sales of merchandise related to the show reached $750 million. He quickly became a cultural icon, and by season 3, the show really had reached its peak. 3 of the major standouts were Club SpongeBob, where Squidward is stranded with Patrick and SpongeBob while they follow a mechanical magic conch. Squidward doesn't believe in the power of the conch, but ultimately gives in when they get everything they wish for. Or the Idiot Box, where SpongeBob and Patrick purchase a massive TV with the intention to throw it out and only play inside the box it was delivered in. Squidward...
Bro, another one on the list. Yo, I'm not gonna lie to you. Hats off to the creator, bro. Rest in peace, man. Rest in peace for real, bro. Cause that nigga hand was on fire for the first 3 seasons there. This wasn't just the 3rd season, bro. This was gold, bro. Like, this was actual gold, bro. Like, anybody watching this shit right now and never watched this episode, y'all don't know how, like, this is one of them Johns that's funny as fuck even later on, because it's just confusing later on. And as a kid, you don't even really think about how confusing it is. It's just like the most perfectly put together randomness. Niggas ordered a big ass TV, big ass, expensive ass TV. Not only is this shit too big to just be in this damn box, already assembled. That was the craziest thing. The TV came assembled. It's like 10 times the size of the box. They throw it out, use the box like a kid, like big ass kids, like they're adults, right? They use the shit like big ass kids. Squidward takes the TV like, fuck, y'all niggas are stupid. And then everything on the TV is about boxes. How the fuck do you get a TV that only broadcasts shows and movies involving boxes? What is that? How does that even make any sense? And it didn't make sense, and that's why it was so fucking funny.
Squidward takes the TV from the trash thinking he got the better deal, but realizes that television leaves him feeling bored and empty inside. It was a fun way to show children that you don't need TV to explore new worlds if your imagination is strong enough. But the season favorite has to be Chocolate with Nuts, where Patrick and SpongeBob try to get rich by selling chocolate bars as entrepreneurs. They keep getting scammed by a cruel salesman while running away from a fish screaming chocolate at the top of his lungs, and it's only when they can't run anymore that they realize the maniac is willing to give them a small fortune. It was the kind of season that made SpongeBob look like the next Simpsons, but for kids. There was nothing they couldn't do, and it had the potential to never end. But just as SpongeBob was becoming a worldwide phenomenon, Steve Hillenburg wanted it to be done. I definitely need a break, Hillenburg told The Times. I want to try something new. I think the network wants to make a SpongeBob movie. I also want to make a movie. I wouldn't want to try and work on the series concurrently with the film. At that point, Steve was gearing up for the SpongeBob movie to be the conclusion of the show, and everyone started losing their damn minds. A longtime crew member, Kenny Pittenger, said, "Many people were astonished when SpongeBob ended after the 3rd season. It's at the height of its popularity, but it's so funny. Aren't you guys getting great ratings? Has Steve gone crazy?" Steve had several reasons for ending it when he did, but even though I don't know any of the specifics, the movie undoubtedly factored into his decision. Steve said he was going to end the show after the 3rd season so the show wouldn't jump the shark. The show was such a cash cow for the station that it couldn't afford to. Steve was able to leave and still gets a cut of the merchandising, so I'm happy for him. Hillenburg always approached this show as an artist with a story to tell. He made enough money, he was set for life, and now that the story was over, it was time to move on and create new things. But as we all know, corporations don't care about art. And even if Steve was going to walk away, Nickelodeon was never remotely considering actually canceling SpongeBob SquarePants. So instead of it ending on a high note, SpongeBob would slowly become an example of what happens when a corporation takes a piece of art and milks it dry until it becomes an unrecognizable shell of what it once was. According to everyone working on the SpongeBob movie, the process behind making it was one of the most challenging periods of their lives. Even crew members like Eric Weiss, who had left the show to work on cult classics like Samurai Jack and Danny Phantom, returned to make sure it was a success. voice. I always wanted to be a feature animator, and the movie felt like I was on the character animation end. It was a blast. It felt like coming home. We saw how stressed Steve and Derek were, so we wanted to work hard for them. We all felt like we had some ownership of SpongeBob, like we were a family that helped raise him. We loved the little guy. Those cartoonists are my buddies, and I wanted to put in all the extra effort I could for them. Seeing SpongeBob on the big screen, wow, that was huge. It was quite a journey. And looking back, the SpongeBob SquarePants movie did seem like a decent way to finish a classic series that showed experimental kids animation at its peak.
I definitely could have seen SpongeBob ending off at the movie. Like, it seemed like the movie gave you everything it could have, like, for real. Like, if it was meant to be a closeout to the whole thing, I think that would have been a proper send-off. Like, if we want to be honest, I'm pretty sure I feel like Patrick's gonna probably talk about more episodes that came after it, like after bro left. But if I am correct and my memory serves right, any good episode I can remember in my head so far is starting to look like it had to be between seasons 1 through 3. So if this movie came already after the 3rd season and when it was supposed to end, I have a good, like, I have a good feeling that everything else was just like straight filler nonsense. Honestly. Because he just showed you the Christmas shit with the donkey joke. Most of the other episodes he just showed are all the ones that I really remember being the best one. And I don't know. I think there was a movie that came after the SpongeBob movie that I went to go watch. So it was a queer SpongeBob Out of War. I can't remember if it was I can't remember what it was. But I went to the movie theaters to go watch it. It was in 3D and it wasn't bad. So maybe not everything was ass. I just know for a fact that I can't remember, but the new episodes are dead ass garbage now.
SpongeBob became the manager of the Krusty Krab 2. He won the respect of his peers as a young adult while still embracing his inner childlike creativity, and Plankton was sent to prison for his countless crimes. And even better, the movie included all of the classic devices that made the show so special, with live-action cameos, songs, and adult jokes that made it feel more like the longest episode ever rather than a film.
She's pretty, SpongeBob.
Here, take this.
What's in here?
It's a magical bag of winds. I stole them from my father.
You're hot!
But again, Nickelodeon had no intentions on ending the show, and it seemed like they were low-key grooming animator Paul Tibbitt to be the next Steve Hillenburg. Paul said, "I was wrapping up on the movie and the network wanted to do more shows." Steve said, "No, I want to finish the movie," and he wasn't even sure if he wanted to go back to the show. He felt he'd done what he set out to accomplish, and he wanted to take a step back and try something different. I had sort of been training to take over the job. After we finished writing the last season, they kept me around because they had a couple of things in mind. Originally, they were going to do a couple of specials after the 3rd season. I was shadowing Steve and Derek, and I got to go to a lot of the records and editing sessions, so I'd been training to do that job, not knowing it would be for SpongeBob. They just wanted to keep me around in case something popped up. But when we were working on the movie, they came in one day and said, "We want to make more episodes, but Steve doesn't want to." And I said, "I'll do it." They came back the next day and said, "Are you serious?" I said, "Sure." It was just being in the right place at the right time. And many fans interpret this as the exact moment that SpongeBob was stolen from Steven Hillenburg. But the harsh truth is that Hillenburg lost control over the SpongeBob IP the second he sold it to Nickelodeon. That might not make it right, but that's just how the business has worked for decades. The artist creates the show, they get a cut of the merch and rerun earnings, and if they're really lucky, they might be able to maintain creative control while it's running. Steve knew this, and given that SpongeBob was so massively popular, he had a hard choice to make. Either he could be trapped in the writer's room for all eternity and maintain control of his story, or he could let go of the day-to-day operations and do what makes him happy.
After I did the movie, Paul came in and basically has been running the show kind of in my shoes.
Did you just need a rest at that point, you think?
I felt like it's time for new blood. I think it's good to change things up to keep it fresh.
And while Steve would remain as an executive producer of the show after season 3, his role went from being the guy making sure that every single aspect of the show was perfect to someone who just kind of oversees and gives his opinion after the episodes are complete, and the team can consider his thoughts if they want to, but realistically they don't have to listen to him. And Steve's absence from the day-to-day grind was extreme.
Hey, bro, you don't gotta tell me they don't gotta listen to him, man. With the shit they putting out right now, bro, I swear to God, bro, they look, bro, they might as well just wrap it up, bro. Like, are niggas still watching TV? Are kids watching the new SpongeBob episode still? Like, like I said, I might be 26, so I'm nowhere near one of the kids still, right? Are they still watching SpongeBob, or are like these new version of kids nowadays with all this like overstimulating like content on the internet and everything going on? Are they still fascinated with this slop that niggas are feeding them in package of a SpongeBob episode nowadays? I'm telling y'all, I've watched one of them recent episodes. You can watch a whole one and you wouldn't know the purpose. You would not know the purpose. It literally just gives, we're trying to drop an episode so we can still get paid. It gives, this is probably the only name that still gets a little bit of eyes on our network. Because what other popular Nickelodeon shows are there that are running still? What are? Are there any? I don't watch TV anymore, bro. A lot of people don't watch fucking cable, bro.
Noticeable as soon as season 4 aired. The downfall of SpongeBob SquarePants had officially begun. At its best, SpongeBob season 4 was rated a point or two lower than every episode from seasons 1 through 3. At its worst, it was getting massacred by a disappointed fan base that felt that the spirit of the original SpongeBob was fading away. The only halfway decent episodes in my opinion were Krusty Towers, where Mr. Krabs turns the Krusty Krab into a hotel, and Skill Crane.
Okay, these were two solid episodes. These were 2 solid episodes. I remember these as a kid. These weren't bad. I actually fuck with these 2 episodes. I can tell you that wasn't, the slop didn't start yet.
Where Squidward gets addicted to winning a prize from a claw machine. But even still, the captivating storytelling was missing. It felt boring. And this only spiraled out of control in later seasons, where a lot of fans felt like it wasn't even the same show anymore, but more like a knockoff that took its place and destroyed the characters. Over the next 10 years, the SpongeBob writers reduced the characters significantly through a process called Flanderization. It was originally named after Ned Flanders from The Simpsons, who was originally depicted as a friendly, generous Christian neighbor and a model father, husband, and citizen, making him a contrast to Homer Simpson. As seasons progressed, however, he became increasingly obsessively religious to the point where he eventually embodied almost every negative stereotype of the God-fearing, Bible-thumping American Christian evangelist. And it applies to any character. It's the act of taking a single, often minor action or trait of a character within a work and exaggerating it more and more over time until it completely consumes the character. This got so bad that SpongeBob fans refer to season 6 through 9 as the Dark Era. For Squidward, the complaints mainly stemmed from what is referred to as Squidward torture. In early episodes, Squidward would be a jerk, which led to him getting a deserved and silly punishment. What changed is that he would start getting unfairly treated or at worst tortured for seemingly no reason. In Choir Boys,
I noticed that. But to be able, I ain't gonna lie, younger, I never noticed the difference between the first couple seasons. Squidward had a little bit more of a contrast, and then you like as a kid, you just automatically have it wired in your head. I'm like, yo, Squidward's a really mean guy. He's kind of a jerk. So when it turned around, and he was always just getting picked on. Or I never even looked at it like, yo, Squidward's getting picked on. I just looked at it like, yo, he's a jerk getting like karma back to back because he's being such a bad person. That's what I thought. Most of the time, that I don't know. Maybe I just have my memory fucked up. But most of the times, he ended up in a situation where he had to either suffer or get a consequence for it. It seemed like it was like ultimately off the back of him being a dickhead. Like even this one right here that's frozen. The whole episode, he was literally ignoring SpongeBob and trying to avoid him just to get to this thing. And then ultimately he got stood up by, actually, not stood up. He got outshined by SpongeBob. Like, and then the shit where he was getting the tomatoes thrown at him, I forgot what that was for. But Squidward, it kind of, to me, it felt the same exact thing. Like, he would do shit, he'd be a dickhead, and then somehow he'd just be the one that get the fastest karma. That's how it always felt.
Squidward desperately wants to perform at a concert, only for SpongeBob's non-stop screaming to literally destroy his throat and ruin the opportunity entirely. In Boating Buddies, Squidward gets trapped spending the day with SpongeBob, leading to him being falsely arrested and publicly embarrassed despite doing almost nothing wrong. Squid's visit takes it even further, with Squidward finally escaping SpongeBob, only to discover SpongeBob has secretly recreated his entire house inside his own home, turning the episode into something that feels like a genuinely unsettling Black Mirror episode instead of silly and funny. Episodes like Slide Whistle Stooges and Giant Squidward kept pushing this same formula. Squidward wasn't really a flawed, misunderstood character getting comedic payback anymore. He was just plain miserable and being tortured for it. And over time, that subtle shift completely.
Okay, I mean, I guess I said every kid reacts differently then, because I mean, I don't know, I found that kind of funny. I found it funny. Like I will say, I personally found it funny. I was gonna say that I thought that legitimately when bro passed away, well then again, no, bro didn't pass away yet at this time. He didn't pass away at this time yet, because he passed away in 2018, like I said, when I left high school. These episodes, I know they aired when I was younger. Like I remember watching them on cable. Like I remember watching them shits on the TV in my living room. The big Squidward episode, no Diddy, the fucking flute thing, the fucking, worse. I probably did, I probably watched most of these. I don't know what season they're on right now then. Whatever they've been on for the last like 5 years, I believe. Yeah, nah.
Changed the tone of the show, leading to this extremely dark joke.
I can't seem to get happy. Maybe this will help.
For Sandy Cheeks, it was more about how she became more and more obsessed with science than anything else. The dimensions of her personality as a strong Texan with nothing to lose were mostly replaced, making her just feel kind of dull. Sandy's rocket was literally the only time in the older episodes where she showed an interest in science. Then, right out of nowhere, she's suddenly obsessed with it. Now, a lot of the newer episodes are just her dumb experiments. But what they did to Patrick Star could be the worst of them all. He's always been a dumb sidekick for SpongeBob, but he never did anything with the intention to harm people.
Hey, Patrick, are you angry too?
Yeah.
What's the matter?
Can't see my forehead.
During the Dark Era, they made him insufferably dumb. No charm at all, just one brain cell. Like in The Splinter, where SpongeBob gets a splinter in his thumb and calls Dr. Patrick, whose office is in the Krusty Krab dumpster. Patrick then starts the exam by chewing on SpongeBob's foot, and then he gets mad when SpongeBob says that's not helping. From there, instead of trying to pull the little piece of wood out, Patrick decides to hammer the splinter deeper into SpongeBob's thumb and then rubs garbage all over it to reduce the swelling. Like at this point, this isn't even just Patrick being dumb. Like it almost seems like he's just intentionally trying to cause harm. The writing here is so late.
I think, now I ain't gonna lie, now we're getting to like a little bit of the parts where I gotta kind of say like, to look back. Now, this is not my opinion as an adult right now, all right? Because obviously right now, yeah, okay, I can say this is kind of crazy. I watched these episodes as a kid. I don't know how old Pat is, so I don't know how much like older than he is, or maybe he's around the same age as me. You know what I mean? But I never looked at Patrick like he was being made dumber. Because I never looked at Patrick as somebody, like, I get they say he was already supposed to be dumb. And I guess what Pat is trying to say is that they emphasized everything, but I thought that shit like that was just supposed to happen gradually as shows go on. Like, them emphasizing the traits of each character was actually entertaining to me. Because it was basically like, if I'm sitting there as a kid with an imagination and I see these personalities and I'm thinking to myself, I put these niggas in scenarios like, yo, how would these guys work in this scenario? How would they react in this scenario? How would they move it? I wouldn't even have to with it because they literally would take each character and put them in the most exaggerated scenarios that you probably never asked for or wouldn't have expected. But you're like, oh shit, that's interesting. But I guess it depends on who you are or what kind of kid you were. I like that shit was entertaining to me. That was entertaining to me. I'm not gonna lie. That was
that it goes beyond dumb. It's just nonsensical. Doctors' offices are supposed to be clean, so they put Patrick in a dumpster. You're supposed to pull the splinter out, so Patrick pushes it further in. The wounds are supposed to be sterile so they don't get an infection, and he puts garbage all over it. Just making Patrick do the opposite of what he's supposed to do is nonsensical. There's no charm. Like, he used to have this charm to his dumbness. Like, in a way, Patrick was so dumb that you almost thought he was onto something.
Oh, if only I knew how to work this thing.
Let me take a look at it. You know what the problem is?
What?
You got it set to M for mini, when it should be set to W for Wumbo.
But like this is like about as equally exaggerated, because that's so fucking stupid. Wumbo's not even a real word. It's like, who watching SpongeBob as a kid expected Patrick to even know the first thing to do with taking out his splinter or anything medical? So it, like, to me, it would make sense for him to do the opposite of what you're supposed to do, because he wouldn't know. Like, he wouldn't know. Like, the lack of charm that Pat's saying that the nigga, like he lost. I never looked at Patrick like he had no fucking charm. I just looked at him like a dumbass. So as long as he was being a dumbass, to me, it never rubbed me. It never, like, you know what I'm saying? It never got me. It never threw me off. I was always like, yo, he's just being stupid. He's just being Patrick. If any of y'all niggas watch Disney Channel, Disney XD growing up, every one of their live action shows, the dumb character in the show was over exaggeratedly dumb, right? If we're talking about dumb with no charm, maybe you could say some of them had a little bit of charm because they had moments where they were a little bit smarter than other times. But we're saying Patrick Star, a character that's supposed to be made off of a starfish. It's supposed to be an inanimate object. It's not a real animal. It has no real brain. You have no brain. You can't store any type of fucking knowledge, right? I don't give a fuck if it's a cartoon. Be realistic. You want to make him that dumb, he can be that dumb. Like, he doesn't have one brain cell in real life. So in the cartoon, I don't know. I think there was higher expectations for all of that. Like, even with Squidward, like, Squidward was always painted to be a miserable person to me. And just that one guy that's like he was the adult. So it never really, I don't know, bro. Like, it didn't get me like this, bro. I'm not gonna lie.
And as if the new writing wasn't bad enough, Patrick from here was often depicted as extremely selfish, cruel, and weirdly aggressive towards SpongeBob in newer episodes. In Yours, Mine, and Mine, Patrick is particularly insufferable as he tries to force SpongeBob to share his toy with him.
Hey, Patrick, have you met my new toy?
Don't you mean our new toy?
Our new toy?
It came from the meal that we're sharing.
Sharing?
Remember, sharing is the most wonderful feeling in the world, like dancing with a magical seahorse through an enchanted kelp garden. Remember those words, SpongeBob?
I didn't say that, but I guess we can share, Patty Pal.
And in Stuck in the Ringer, SpongeBob gets trapped in a towel wringer so he can't move his arm.
I'm sorry. I'm not going to sit here and just agree with this nigga right now, bro. These are not bad episodes. Can somebody agree? These are not bad episodes. These were good episodes. For the age, I don't know. Was I supposed to be more critical thinking of these episodes? Like, they did what the fuck they were supposed to do. It kept me sitting in the living room in front of my big ass TV. These, to me, were still classics. This episode was a classic. I want to see which other ones he's gonna say was in this season. This was a classic. The fucking burger toy episode, I didn't look at Patrick like he was being mean or it was funny. Cause it's a fucking burger toy. Like, how could you take that serious? It's funny. It's supposed to be random and funny.
Hands or even swallow his food. Instead of trying to efficiently help him out, the writers again make Patrick do the opposite thing that he should do, and he decides to glue SpongeBob to the ringer, thinking it will fix it, but it traps SpongeBob even more. From there, Patrick decides to take SpongeBob to the carnival while he has an amazing time, and SpongeBob has to sit there and watch how much fun he is having without him. When SpongeBob finally defends himself, Patrick cries and the whole town sees SpongeBob as the bad guy.
You know, kid, your body isn't the problem. It's your heart. You deserve what you've gotten. Come on, we're out of here.
SpongeBob then falls in.
But it's real. Bro, it's real. That's really what goes. Like, a person that's really like that dumb in real life, they have a lack of self-awareness. A lack of self-awareness, meaning you have a lack of even people's skills in registering others' emotions, bro. So it wasn't crazy for Patrick to come in and be enjoying himself. SpongeBob wasn't blatantly saying anything, right? Dumb people, right? I'm gonna say this in real life even. If you don't flat out tell them how you're feeling, they're not gonna just read your emotions. That's something that people with even a teeny bit of intelligence would do. SpongeBob wasn't spending the entire episode saying, "Hey Patrick, how are you having fun without me? I'm really feeling," like he was in distress. Clearly, if you can, a teeny bit of, you can notice my man's is in distress. He's stuck. I'm making it worse. He's having a terrible time. I'm having a good time. But I felt like Patrick was meant to not even, I think there was even an episode where they showed this nigga's brain. Like he was meant to have not even the teeniest bit of intelligence. No logic, only emotion. Only emotion, if anything. And what's gonna happen? In real life, what happens? When niggas let people just keep doing things and hoping that they're gonna just realize, oh, how it makes them feel negatively, and they don't realize it, you keep it built up, and then you just explode. No Diddy. You just tell them everything that's on your mind. You start, and then at that point, you're not even caring about how you're saying it. You're just saying it all, and you're not caring about how they feel. And 9 times out of 10, those people always receive the message the wrong way because you didn't even take the time to think about how to say it. You just waited for the build up, and you just let it all out. You get what I'm saying? That was real. That really happens. That genuinely happens. So it's like, I don't, like, that was a good episode, bro. Oh my God, bro.
To a deep depression, and Patrick comes over, cries again, and his tears melt the glue, which allows SpongeBob to break free. And then they literally make SpongeBob say the lesson to be learned from this story in the end.
I guess crying does solve your problems after all.
Not only is this terrible, nonsensical, and not even remotely funny, I've never seen them have to explain the point of an episode at the end. It's also increasingly obvious that SpongeBob has only been for kids after Steven Hillenburg left. And it was always a kid's show, but what made it so different...
There you go. There you go. Because I still found it entertaining, and I was a fucking kid. So, like, maybe that's what it was. Maybe that's what it was, bro.
Was the fact that parents could watch alongside their kids and enjoy it, so they could share laughs and make memories together. But SpongeBob acts and behaves more like a baby than ever before, making it unwatchable for adults. The characters don't feel like adults anymore. In the original show, while SpongeBob was childish, he never felt like a kid. He just felt like an optimistic adult with childish hobbies. But now, everyone just feels like a kid in an adult's body. But in the newer seasons, he just cries over stupid reasons. Breaking a spatula, tripping over his toe, ripping his favorite shirt, while several others just like it are hanging right behind it. Honestly, I cannot with the stupidity of modern SpongeBob. And most...
That is not a... See, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know what? I see what the problem is. I definitely see what the problem is. You're right. It's a bunch of old niggas trying to enjoy kid cartoons, right? That's what it is. Because honestly, now I really think about it, I don't think the age demographic would have even been formulating those type of like critical thoughts about the show when they were coming out. So it's not even a problem with the show. It's just a problem with the people that were watching it, bro. Like some of the people that was watching it. Y'all just aged out of it. There are adult shows. You don't need to rely on a kid fucking show, a show that's supposed to be for kids, to give you adult entertainment. Like I told you, my parents watched Family Guy. There's The Simpsons. There are a bunch of other adult shows that mostly have just adult humor. And you don't need to rely on a kid show to do that. So there was nothing wrong with SpongeBob. Nickelodeon is a kid network. That's why they have Nick at Night. If Nickelodeon wasn't for kids, there would be no need for Nick at Night to be a whole entire different side of Nickelodeon that had adult, you feel me, nighttime when kids are supposed to be sleeping for school. You know what I'm saying? Same thing with Adult Swim. So you're an adult crying about SpongeBob becoming more for kids. Boo fucking who? Go and watch an adult cartoon. What the fuck? That's what my parents did. Niggas watch their own shit. They never watched SpongeBob with me to begin with. That's for me and my little brothers. We watched that shit. And we found that shit entertaining. That shit had us laughing. I had a lot of good memories. A lot of these episodes he's talking about, I have friendships that was built off of just joking about references from these damn episodes. Like, these were funny episodes to the consumers demographic at the time. Like, y'all were just too old. Y'all aged out of it, bro. That was it. Y'all aged out of it.
People's rebuttal is, bro, you're just getting older. But the crazy part is, this all started way back in seasons 4 and 5. A lot of us were still little kids at that time. I remember being like 9 or 10 and thinking these episodes just felt different. And now I'm just reanalyzing as an adult and seeing I was right. But it wasn't just the writing that negatively impacted this iconic show. SpongeBob's own animation was losing a lot of its initial charm. It started with subtle changes like better lighting.
Hold on. He said not. How? I gotta see how old Pat is, bro. Hold on. Hold on. Let me see something. Type shit. He's 4 years older than me. So that would mean he said he was 9. He said he was 9 when those episodes dropped. So I would have been like 5. I'd have been 5 years old. The fact of the matter is, I was younger than him. Maybe my brain was just a little bit less developed. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? Maybe my brain was just a little bit less developed. Because I found these episodes entertaining. I found them bitches entertaining. So for him to say that he was looking at that shit like these were a little bit off, I ain't gonna lie. I didn't realize it. They were all entertaining. Nothing threw me off. Funny enough, I guess you could say until I got a little bit older. Like I said, I got a little older then. But the old ones still, now he showed me the old ones, I still find nothing wrong with them. So I'm 26 years old now. I don't find nothing wrong with those episodes. They still probably would have been hilarious as hell to me now. Maybe not hilarious, I already watched them bitches, but
vibrant colors after the first movie, which is understandable. They have to keep up with the times. But in 2015, when Hillenburg and Nickelodeon released SpongeBob Sponge Out of Water, the visual identity of the main show was essentially dead and replaced with something else. They switched to 1080i high-definition animation. It wasn't even close to the gritty, imperfect, experimental animation that attracted many of us to the series in the first place. Everything was smoothed out, glossy, and in some cases looked completely three-dimensional. And while they still used SpongeBob's elasticity and Bikini Bottom's crazy characters for comedic purposes, it felt like it was all to make up for lazy writing. No depth, no good character arcs, just introducing new, random, exotic characters like a Rick and Morty episode. Not to mention how they constantly turned SpongeBob into something grotesque and unsettling. They seemed to be particularly obsessed with characters ripping their skin off. And despite the show being objectively worse in every way possible, the strong legacy of Steve's original creation led to the—
Jesus Christ, hold on. So, yeah, that makes sense why I'm saying that. He's showing me all these episodes and I'm saying that these ones now, that makes sense. Because they're on like season 16 or something. And the niggas stopped after season 3. Damn. That's so crazy. That means I was really out of the, when I heard that he passed away, like I said in 2018, I wonder what season they were on by then. Hold on. Yeah, we doing another research, man. What season was SpongeBob on in 2018? Okay. Wait. Oh, okay. I was making sure I read that shit right then. All right. It said that this shit dead ass. The 12th season was in 2018. The 12th season of SpongeBob was what was going on in 2018. And that was when bro passed away. So I believe that every episode from season 1 to 12 might have been fire. Maybe it just got dog shit after 2018. I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. We gonna see what Pat said in a bit, but I gotta go back and watch this shit over again. Cause it was 2018, that was the 12th season. We're on season 16 now, right? We're on season 16. What season is it right now? He's on his 16th season. So that's 4 seasons since he passed away. That sounds like a good enough time to have a bunch of the terrible episodes I had seen. So word. For sure. For surely.
show maintaining pretty decent ratings over the years. It's almost like with every new season, people hope the original charm would come back. SpongeBob actually won the Favorite Cartoon Award every year from 2003 to 2021, except in 2008 when Avatar: The Last Airbender momentarily took the spotlight. SpongeBob had transcended TV ratings. He was a generational cultural icon similar to Mickey Mouse. Nickelodeon literally needed him to survive because he was an extension of their identity. After the release of the Sponge Out of Water film in 2015, Steven Hillenburg actually returned to work more closely on the show, and many fans felt like Steve was going to breathe new life into this series. But even with him back in the writer's room, bringing SpongeBob back from the grave would take a miracle. TV as a whole was phasing out as social media took over, and tragically, Steven Hillenburg did not have much time left. In a formal statement to fans in 2017, Steve wrote, "I wanted people to hear directly from me that I have been diagnosed with ALS. Anyone who knows me knows I will continue to work on SpongeBob SquarePants and my other passions for as long as I am able. My family and I are grateful for the outpouring of love and support. We ask that our sincere request for privacy be honored during this time. For those unfamiliar with ALS, the disease leads to muscle weakness and gets worse over time. ALS often begins with muscle twitching and weakness in an arm or leg, trouble swallowing, or slurred speech. Eventually, ALS affects the muscles needed to move, speak, eat, and breathe. The last time the public would see Hillenburg before his death in 2018 was when he received an Emmy Award from his old friend Tom Kenny.
SpongeBob's vocal cords might be mine, but SpongeBob's playful spirit of gentle anarchy, his humor, and the joy he takes in his vibrant, colorful, music-filled world come directly 100% from my good buddy, Mr. Steven Hillenburg. I love you, brother. Thank you.
Steven Hillenburg ultimately passed away peacefully in his home in November of 2018, and after his death there was a constant discussion about what Steve would have wanted for the future of SpongeBob SquarePants, because less than 3 months after his death, Nickelodeon announced that they were developing spin-off projects for SpongeBob SquarePants characters for the first time ever. Immediately,
no character in SpongeBob other than SpongeBob, and funny enough, hot take, even SpongeBob himself, it just wouldn't. No, I don't care about a deeper storyline into any of the characters. You kind of get what you really need to from SpongeBob itself. You get what I'm saying? Like whenever he interacts with a lot of the other characters, you get a good amount of the backstory. I've never been left with the, I wonder where he came from. Like I think they did an episode, if I'm not mistaken, like it was one of the recent ones, like one of the newer ones, and I think it was actually when I was actually kind of like, I think they did one in the perspective of Fred. Who the fuck asked for that? Who asked? Like who asked to see like Fred's POV? He's known as the my leg guy. Like what? All you need to do is give like 2 seconds to show my camera to show what's wrong with his leg. You don't need a dialogue. I remember there was a whole episode just dedicated to Fred. Why? Why was that even a thing? Like,
fans were suspicious as Hillenburg discussed his reluctance towards spin-offs in 2009. He said, "The show is about SpongeBob. He's the core element, and it's about how he relates to the other characters. Patrick by himself might be a bit too much, so I don't see any spin-offs." Camp Coral was announced in June of 2019, which was immediately met with extreme backlash. The updated show was CG animated, and it followed the adventures of SpongeBob and his friends as 10-year-old kids. The show completely backpedals on whatever remained of the original plot of SpongeBob and pretends like SpongeBob knew all of these characters since he was a child. Even Paul Tibbitt posted a tweet confronting the staff on the project, arguing that this was all for the sake of greed. Do not mean any disrespect to my colleagues who are working on this show. They are good people and talented artists, but this is some greedy, lazy executiving right here, and they all know full well Steve would have hated this. Shame on them. But the situation got more complicated and confusing when I'm Urging You to Leave, a Camp Coral short based on the series, was leaked in 2021 that featured a credit saying that the show was created by Hillenburg. Tom Kenny also spoke out against the backlash, saying, "We were a little unsure about the CGI thing too. SpongeBob is such a determinedly 2D classic animated looking show. They were able to find a way to take that CGI and lend it the same squashy, stretchy, kinetic, the craziness of 2D classic animation. That was a puzzle they worked really hard to figure out, and I think are still learning on Camp Coral. I think it's fun to have to learn new tricks when you've been doing something for a while, so it doesn't become stale." And in a now deleted series of tweets, the current SpongeBob showrunner Vincent Waller said, "Steve was aware it was being developed. Sadly, he did not get to see it completed. I think it would have made him smile. Saying, 'I don't see any spin-offs' is in no way saying, 'I would never do a spin-off.' Just like when he said he had no interest in doing a movie, yet lo and behold, not only did he make a movie, but he took part in 3 of them. So can we give a rest to the he would nevers?" Then again, it wasn't just this one spin-off. The network has released The Patrick Star Show. Again, Steve explicitly said in the past.
Why? Why? Y'all gonna force a plot for Patrick fucking Star? Why?
That this would be too much, the Title Zone, and additional films like the Sandy Cheeks movie and Plankton the movie. And it's because of all this.
Why? Who wants Plankton to have a movie? Who wants Sandy to have a movie? Why? These are all supporting characters. Bro, these niggas don't bro, there are shows that you would actually be interested in seeing, okay, a spinoff. You give us enough of that character as a supporting character to make us want to go like, why is this person like this? I just wonder. Yo, the only nigga I would want to have a fucking spinoff is Krabs, Larry, or Squidward. I would want to know how the fuck did they end up being the way they were. And you wouldn't even need that because in the actual SpongeBob, there's an episode where they provide you with the backstories for each of these niggas all the time, bro. They all have an episode where they done showed their backstory, where they were as a kid, what kind of led to them being how they are now ultimately as a developed character. Like, bro, they've done this. You don't need a whole show for them. Like, the characters aren't that, like, you feel me? Like, bro, yo, I ain't gonna lie. I didn't even know about this. This just pissed me off. I didn't even know they made that many spinoffs. What the fuck? All of this shit, all that looks dumb as hell. Nothing that just came up on my screen made me go like, oh my God, that's actually interesting. Let me go click on that. And then there's CGI at that. Like, they're not even actually animated for real, like how this shit is supposed to be. Yeah, bro.
That many fans believe Steven Hillenburg is rolling in his grave as the greedy Nickelodeon executives rinse his sponge until it's bone dry. But I think that is a bit of an overstatement. I think we can infer from Steve's past quotes that the artist in him never saw SpongeBob going past season 3, let alone becoming a legacy character like Mickey Mouse. He probably didn't love all these wacky new ideas, spin-offs, and concepts, but he understood that his creation was much bigger than him. It was generational. Add on the fact that he developed friends and relationships with the hardworking folks who worked on this show and would probably want them to keep their jobs. It's unlikely that all of these spin-offs were thought of the moment he passed away, as shows generally take years and years to develop. He probably was aware of them or was even presented them during his tenure. And since Steve was a great guy and was open-minded, he probably genuinely considered every new idea that was presented to him and tried to make it make sense while still maintaining the artistic integrity of the original show. Maybe he did even work on some of these spin-offs, but I don't think it's a coincidence that 0 spin-offs were greenlit while Steve was alive, because if SpongeBob's legacy was truly up to Steven Hillenburg and not a multi-billion-dollar network, the show would have never made it past 2004. SpongeBob is a great reminder that the best cartoons are the ones that adults can watch too, because historically, cartoons were actually never made for kids. But check out this video if you want to hear that story.
Hey, I like Pat's videos, bro. I think some of the opinions that people had on the episodes, like I was saying, we already concluded it inside the video. It's just because they were old. It's just because they were getting older. Whether it be he said he was 9 years old, you're still a kid, I get it, but you're like going into tween. you start to develop just a little bit more of a self-awareness and like a what's the word, a want for logical explanations in certain things going on in life. You're not still just la 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 la. I was watching them episodes and I was entertained. Like, you know what I mean? I was entertained. Whatever they had going on that screen kept me entertained. I was laughing. I talked about it with my friends. That's what was going on, bro. But like he said, bro, if Pat was 4 years old in 2004 when SpongeBob was going on and all that, nigga, I wasn't even born yet, gang. I wasn't even born yet. Or I was just being born. Because I'm 4 years younger than the nigga. So, I don't know, bro. I don't think SpongeBob. I honestly and truly, I think everything they did to the show after bro passed away definitely has bro rolling in his grave. Don't get me wrong. Probably everything after the 12th season and all them spinoffs that I just seen them talk about. Yeah, that's terrible as fuck. But those episodes between when he left the show, when he was still alive though, those episodes weren't that bad in my opinion because I enjoyed them as a kid. So. I don't know. I didn't have no like negative opinions about it until maybe after he passed away. Literally until after he passed away. All the episodes after he passed away. That's when I was like, nah. Even Sponge Out of Water wasn't bad. Like I was like, that's not bad. But I was like, Well, anyways, y'all, that's the video, bro. I hope y'all enjoyed it, man. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and turn on post notifications so you stay updated with every video on this channel. All the links are going to be in the description. And as always, I hope y'all was entertained. That's all I care about is that y'all was entertained. And I'm going to see y'all in the next video. Peace out.
It ain't no need for discussion. I just gotta keep working. Whole lot of things that I'm trying to purchase. Trying to see the hills, only seeing murder. I ain't rich, but my pockets ain't hurting. Locked in, so I ain't with the flirting. Know it's cops on the block, they be lurking. Bro posted up and ain't nobody nervous. Pop a 30 and bro go berserk. Smooching my Zod chest starting to hurt. Only go up, I can't go back to nothing. Really feel like that shit really works. Like I remember when I was in church and I ain't wanna give them alert. Niggas got shit to say when they ain't in the position. Gotta focus, some niggas don't listen.